To us, long time ago actually, I'm passionate about feeding and swallowing disorders because majority of the children that we serve, whether it's 12-1-4 classes, not 12-1-1, but we do have 12-1, we have 12-4 classes. Those are the children with multiple disabilities. We have children on feeding tubes, we have children who are on trachs, we have children who visually impaired, hearing impaired, and combination of impairments, and of course children with autism, which is what we're going to talk today about. So this is kind of like where the original passion started, is just helping these children move along with their feeding goals. And when we were looking into some of the things that we would like to do, because we do have a lot of children with autism, we decided, well, we know that they're really struggling with foods. We know that a majority of them will have very limited amount of foods that they eat, and usually the foods that they do eat are not the healthiest of the choices. So we have children on Oreos for the whole day, we have kids chips, bread, usually it's carbs, and when we did a survey from our parents, the big groups that were missing were the fruits and vegetables. So this is kind of like, I'm giving you a little bit of background of our school. All right.
We're also speech therapists.
Yes, we are not teachers here.
So we'll have to do like a speech reading class.
Thank you.
Oh, to do with the mouth.
We are
To do with the
both
mouth.
pathologists, yes. Yes, so here we go.
Here we go.
So yes, so this is a fancier way to tell us this is what we do. So we work both on communication skills, and this is something that we helped out with our amazing Gina, who we will have some of the photographs and videos to share. So she helped us to kind of have the program rolling, and what we focused on is working on some of the feeding progression, which we'll talk about and how we did that, and also communication built into that program. So this is our school, 771K, it's an organization, and we served 12-1-1, 8-1-1, 6-1-1, 12-1-4, and we chose 2 8-1-1 classes and 1 6-1-1, where we found the most, first of all, it was kids that we served, and also children on the spectrum who are struggling with feeding.
So here's how it all ties in. So this is the hunger behind the vision. So autism rates are going up, and 96% of children with autism may experience feeding or eating problems. Children with autism show markedly higher rates of food selectivity, sensory-based refusal, and limited food variety compared to typically developing peers. And when you're in the school, feeding support is often overlooked or misunderstood. Teachers and administration are always asking, like, how is this educationally relevant? And then tie into nutrition. So nutrition directly affects their attention, cognition, and academic outcomes. So if these students are only eating potato chips and Oreos all day, how is it affecting their cognition and academic?
Yeah, and how do you want them to pay attention if the body only receives like carbs and sugar?
Right, and no nutrients.
Exactly. And then pediatric feeding disorders, it's on the rise. It's a new term. This term came out in 2019 with a group of various professionals, ENT, gastroenterologists, speech language pathologists, and they finally made a consensus that this is what we're going to call it. We're going to call it pediatric feeding disorders. I like to call it pediatric feeding and swallowing disorders because it kind of ties all in together, but it's basically 1 in 37 children, and that is not in special education, it's just 1 in 37 children that is going to diagnose or have symptoms of pediatric feeding disorders. And it's anything from either accepting food, having a negative relationship with food, it's the autonomy of eating and actually chewing and swallowing food. So all these different components that is attached to the pediatric feeding disorders. And autistic children are 5 times more likely to have a pediatric feeding disorder than a neurotypical child. So this is kind of like the vision on why we wanted to do this. So
we went to the vendor fair, we found Foodstream Network and their sensory kitchen program, and we were like, this matches our vision, this is perfect.
Exactly.
So chose you guys.
Exactly.
Thank you.
There you go. So the Foodstream network, we have some representatives here, and we chose Sensory Kitchen program. And Sensory Kitchen, it's a hands-on sensory cooking and nutrition program for NYC students designed to support diverse learning styles, build confidence, and create positive, inclusive food experiences. And this is straight from their website, and we absolutely aligned with exactly what we wanted to do for our students. We wanted to be accessible, inclusive, we wanted to build confidence, and we wanted to make it positive, because we know that majority of our children will not eat that food, but we wanted to create these beautiful, positive connections with food to hopefully guide them into that space. And then, so what we did was,
So for the cooking, we followed the recipe. They had actual photos of the food. We worked on matching the food to colors, so we were trying to target some of their speech goals while we did the cooking lesson, incorporating everything. They learned how to use child-safe utensils. We worked on their motor development, mixing, peeling, and chopping, as well as social emotional learning.
and then sensory exploration. What we really wanted to do as speech language pathologists, we wanted them to tolerate food on the table. And if they were able to do that, we wanted them to interact using a utensil. So let's see, a child maybe didn't want to pick up a blueberry and put it in a cup, but maybe they were able to do that with a spoon. So that's the next step. We then wanted them to touch the food if possible, and there's different type of touching. They could touch it with a finger, which is like less intrusive to the body versus holding in the hand. And then will they bring the food closer to their mouth to smell it? Will they be able to kiss the food? Will they be able to lick the food? Will they be able to bite the food even if they'll spit it out? And obviously, will they able to chew and swallow the food at the end? And we are following, this is from SOS, it's adopted by Dr. Toomey, who is a psychologist who is specializing in pediatric feeding disorders. And she created this systematic steps to accept eating. So this is how we're tying in the program that you guys developed, but also with the research as speech language pathologists and research with autism. So we kind of, as we came to every child, we had these steps in our minds and trying to see which step each child is with each food. Because, for example, interacting with lettuce might be okay. It's not that wet. It's, it looks like paper. But interacting with a cut up tomato, which is now leaking, could have been a different step. So, for example, a child can smell the lettuce, don't look. Maybe they'd be able to smell the lettuce, but then with a tomato, maybe they can only tolerate by looking at it. So here are the steps, and you can always even assess your child. Yeah. Assess your children by using the step. Like, oh, they're in step 2 right now, and we're trying to get them to step 3. Right? And you definitely don't want to jump from step 1 to step 5. Right? We just kind of wanted to do it gradually in a very positive, encouraging way, but we never force our children to do any of these steps.
That's why tying it into a cooking lesson, it's like a fun experience. We're not making them eat anything. It's like if they felt like touching the lettuce today, that's fine. If not, maybe they could tolerate looking at it on their friend's cutting board, Yeah. And because they are on different levels, it's also that peer interaction and peer modeling, which also was really good, because I'm not really telling you to do that, but she is able to take it with her hands. So now I don't want to touch it, but I see you touching it and you're fine. So that peer modeling was really good for us. So, Ms. Gina would start us off, asking everyone how are you feeling, and giving them visual choices of emotion. So it kind of got everyone warmed up and ready for the lesson.
Okay.
And then step 2, we'd go over the recipe, identify and label the fruits and vegetables that we were going to use. We had pictures of them on the table for them, so if they've said, can you find the tomato, they can look through and find it and hold it up if they couldn't.
And what I love about this is that a lot of pictures were real photographs, and I really like that for our students, because if you're thinking about which steps are they on right now, you can see he's able to look at it, he's able, even if it's a picture, he's able to match it, and here they're comfortable just looking at the food, and that could be one of the steps if your child is very, very selective with their eating, we could just start with playing with food items, not real food. We can play with food pictures. We can read books about food, and that's how we build up on that. And then here we see already that we have the food presented. Now the child does not want to touch this food, but we are matching the picture. So again, like little opportunities right now where the food is near the child, but they don't have to touch it. Okay?
They all love to come up and run to the smart board too. She'd be like, can anyone find the grapes? And they'd all just like come running to them.
All right, and then
Step 3, so we prepared for the lesson, we washed our hands, prepared our workstations. They all got a choice of what color cutting board and knife they wanted, different utensils.
yeah, and I love how our paraprofessionals and teachers on some of the classrooms were participating and helping us to make sure that every child will have a support during that time. So again, kind of looking through the steps that they are and helping them along the way, encouraging them to possibly interact with the food, and also like how beautiful and colorful this looks. It's just
So visually appealing.
it really is. It really is. Okay. And then step 4 would be that each child was modeled. Each step was modeled first. Gina would talk about each step. She would have a PowerPoint where she talked about what is the next step, and then students participated at their own level. Again, so what step would this be? Touching. What step would this be?
That's an interesting one.
All the way at the top, not eat.
So utensil use. He's not touching with his hands, right? For example, we would want them to touch with the hands, but he's using a utensil. This would be touching. This would be use of the utensil, right? So I mean, obviously we need a utensil to cut up the carrot, but also you can see how he doesn't really want to like touch that. But also after that, after you cut up, I would want you to touch it at some point, right? And then step 5.
They were encouraged to look, touch, and smell each recipe ingredient however they felt comfortable. Some were able to taste it, and that was good for their peers to see.
So, and also by their facial expression. So this child is extremely selective eater. He eats like 3 things that mom sends from home. This is a big deal for him. So, and you can see how he's still very reserved.
Yeah.
He wants to put it as far away from his face
He's
as
still doing
possible,
it.
but he's touching it. So to me, that's success. He never ate this before. He's trying, you can see like, am I going to actually taste this? But he did it. He is trying to kiss the strawberries, same student right here. He was willing to do that, beautiful. Having a utensil, but also touching, kind of like a combination, because you don't have to stay just this step, this step. You can be fluid between the steps. So just showing you some of the steps as they were in action. And also step 6, students helped clean up, reflections and feedback from students and classroom staff, even throwing away the food that they didn't want to interact with. You would think like, okay, just throw away food, but we use it as an opportunity to touch the food by throwing the food into the bin. So again, as speech therapists, we found our ways to snug in our bowls. And the skewers were one of the like fun one because there's no other way to skew a food on the skewer, but you have to touch it. So that was like a really cool one. All right, and here's the video, and we'll take some questions, and this will be it.
Amazing.
Would you like to come up to say a few words about our kids and how How much you love girls class?
Gina.
It's our chef Gina, we call her.
Yes. Working with this group was a fun learning experience. Like, even from the touching to the steps, right? I didn't understand. So when she first said kiss it, I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What happened kissing the food? But then I realized that kissing was one step closer to eating. So I actually learned a lot from them as well, so that I can move on to my next school. But this group was an amazing group, especially the sixth graders. That was like the last class every time, and it was like the highlight of the day.
Right.
Because, have you guys been
The dancing penguins?
The penguins?
Yes.
But a lot of matching with them, and I feel like toward the end, they did eat more. You know?
Yeah.
A lot of them engaged in the food, even if it was just a little bit.
Yeah, and that's what we really wanted to help for, is to create this positive experience for them, that even if it was that step, but that step is huge for them. Because that their relationship between the food is very different. It's on a sensory level. So it was very great to see, and it wasn't even about eating so much, but how more comfortable they got with cutting and interacting with food. As soon as she came in, they were like, I want my knife, I want everything, I want to cut. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yay.
Okay,
Gina.
back.
Woo! Thank
Okay,
you.
we'll answer questions if you have questions, but obviously, any questions?
In comparison to other things that you do in the school, how does food like connect? Is it like one of the highest kind of connectors to
So
the
actually,
students,
there was
or-
like no anything. We didn't have anything food related. I think that at some few years back there was like a point, like somebody did like a cooking thing. It was tied into curriculum. It was there for like
shop, I think it was.
Perk shop,
it
yeah.
came for like for 4 weeks and it was gone.
Yeah.
And it also wasn't. I don't think the teachers approached it in the way that we wanted to approach cooking. So this was kind of like our initiative, and we were very grateful that our principal applied for the grant. And she was like, now run with it. And we were like super excited that we were able to do that, and we're going to try to do it.
The school year before, we were trying to figure out how to tie food in more.
Yeah.
And we started with the HMH curriculum in a lot of our classes, and we're like, how can we like incorporate food a little bit? So we went through and found books that they weren't using for the lessons that were from HMH that had food in them, and we were like, all right, we can do 3 foods for this book. They could interact with it as manipulatives. We can show you the video.
Yeah.
That's our email.
That's
Wait, let me see. Maybe I
Yeah,
can
you
pull it
can.
up. I have a video of that program that we did. If I'll find a way
So
to.
because of that program, she applied for the grant for this for us.
Yeah.
We were funding that all ourselves.
Wait.
I'll take that.
So I will show you guys the video of the other program.
I think like a big observation from our side is the collaboration
Yeah.
that we had, the opportunity to. Because I remember our first conversation,
Yeah.
you had a goal. You know, you
So
were
this is what we
you were
did.
very intentional about
We
what you
put-
wanted out of it.
Picked a book from HMH curriculum. We chose 3 foods that spoke in the
Mhm.
book. We connected together literacy with food. And then we had 3 stations. It was reading comprehension about the food. We had food pictures, and then you had to identify the first letter of the word.
Mhm.
And then we had tracing, but the tracing happened with real food. So we
Right.
would cut out the food, and they had to do the tracing. So instead of using manipulatives, as we usually do have in the classrooms, we use food. So let me show you a video of what that looks
So it was like all their speech goals, plus some food, plus the ELA curriculum.
And was this the same group or?
It was a lot of the same kids because they moved to the next class, and that's the class we chose, but different class.
Yeah.
Alright, I'll
Different
share it with you
staff.
guys.
Need to put the cereal slideshow. Slideshow at the top.
Here, go, she knows better.
Uh,
Here we go. Play.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
That's good. Yeah.
I kind of think about the steps as you're watching this, now that you know.
Yeah, especially the lines as well. That might be.
What's that? Like, I'm not touching that.
That's fun. Sauce. That's fun. So cool. Champions.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah, so we've been very passionate about it, so we're just glad that we have Foodstream on our team now to keep expanding
Thank
this
you.
and helping more kids with food exploration. So
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's it, guys.
Thank you for being amazing partners.
Of course.
Brilliant. Thank you, Gina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
I don't
Yeah.
know how to get out.
I don't think